The record show it is now 6 o'clock. We will call to order the Berkeley County Planning Commission August 5th, 2024 meeting. Sarah, can you do the roll call, please?
Jim Whitaker.
Here.
Linda Barnhart. Eric Goff.
Here.
McKinley Martin.
Present.
Tim Lewis.
Present.
Daniel Gant.
Here.
Michael Bush. Ronald Sewell.
Okay, we do have a quorum this evening. The first item is approval of the agenda. We have that before us. If I can have a motion for approval.
Move to approve. Second.
Have a first by Mr. Goff and a second by Mr. Whitaker for approval of the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First item we open up is the Sunshine Law speakers. Do we have anybody signed up to speak before? Come forward, state your name and your address, and then your comments you have. No, just for the record, state your name and your address.
Okay, Corey Rodriguez, 498 Woolen Mill Road, Martinsburg. So what I'm going to talk about, it's not directly involving you because you don't have control over it, but I want to use my time to keep this out as public knowledge until we get it taken care of. So if I was to ask you how you spell failure, I mean, you guys can all do that, but if you were to ask me that, I would tell you WVDOT. That's how I spell failure, because they fail the people of Berkeley County and the people of the state of West Virginia every day. So let's go back in time here. Wednesday, April 10th, we had Governor Justice, Senator Blair, and the Secretary of DOT, Jimmy Riston, came out on Route 9. Jimmy Riston says, we got up here, got some mapping done, so we're kind of ahead here. Does anybody agree they're ahead on Route 9 at Hedgesville? No, it's a joke. Listen to Governor Jim Justice, which a few weeks ago at the Republican National Convention, he says he never lies. Big Jim says that today I'm announcing that our Department of Transportation is not thinking about, but is ready to start making life easier for those who drive Route 9. He said after months of analyzing this stretch, our DOT is not thinking about it, but is ready to implement a strategic 15-point improvement plan that will alleviate some of the congestion along several sections of Route 9, all in relation to Hedgesville. Since this date, and I went to our county commissioners, and Commissioner Guggenheim and Commissioner Catlick have reached out, and they have received no response back about this 15-point plan. Nothing. Crickets. So I would like you guys, along with the people of Berkeley County, to reach out to Governor Jim's office, to Senator Blair's office, and the Secretary of DOT Riston, and to ask them where it is. Help our Commissioners Steve and Eddie out. Get us the answers. I mean, what was this? This was right before the primary election. Are they up here making crap up to beg for votes? And Senator Blair, he got his. Governor Jim's up. He owes Berkeley County some answers, or we should vote his butt out in the primary. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak under the governmental law? Okay. So the next item on the agenda is approval of the minute meetings. Have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Have a motion by Ms. Norton, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitaker for approval of the minutes from the last meeting of July 15th, 2024. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain due to absence.
We have one
Abstain due to
abstain?
absence.
We have two abstained absence. Minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have quite a big agenda here this evening. We have 8 items that are on the public hearing section of this meeting. So we're going to ask that if you do have comments to make about any project that is on the public hearing, you pick spokespersons to talk on your behalf if you're a homeowners association. Our goal is that we don't hear the same story over and over and over from multiple citizens. It's in the best interest of everybody here this evening that we try to keep the moving along. We do have quite a big agenda. First on the agenda is Wawa Hedgesville.
Yes. This public hearing is a request for waiver. The project is Wawa Hedgesville, file 2406-176. The developer is Wawa Inc., and the engineer is Bowler Engineering. It's located in the Hedgesville District, tax map 34, parcels 12.1, 12.2, and 13. The site's located southwest of the intersection of Rockcliffe Drive and Hedgesville Road. The developer is proposing a 5,915 square foot convenience store and fuel station on 2.27 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to Article 5, Section 503B, requiring a 75-foot front setback for non-residential sites with frontage on an arterial road. The developer is requesting the waiver to allow for a 50-foot front setback instead of the required 75-foot. The pump station canopy is more than 50 feet from the property line and more than 110 feet from the edge of the existing guardrail along Hedgesville Road. Also, the new subdivision and land use regulations that came into effect on August 1st will have a minimum front setback of 50 feet. Based on this information, staff recommends approval of the waiver to Article 5, Section 503B to allow for a 50-foot front setback.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening. My name is Derek Reardon with Bowler.
Thank you, Derek. This is a public hearing, so if you have any comments you would like to make about Wawa of Hedgesville, we ask that you step forward, state your name and your address, and any comments that you have.
If there is no one, I move to close public hearing.
If a motion by Mr. Gant to close the public hearing, and a second by Mr. Gant, I'm sorry, Mr. Goff and Mr. Gant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no, motion carries. Planning Commission members, do you have any questions for Derek on the project?
There are no questions. I'll make the motion. We accept staff recommendation, grant the waiver for the 50-foot front setback instead of 75-foot.
Second.
Here we have a motion by Mr. Gant, a second by Mr. Goff to grant the waiver of a 50-foot setback versus the 75-foot setback. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Likewise for no, motion carries. Thank you, Derek. The second public hearing on the agenda tonight is Little Georgetown.
Yes, this public hearing is also a request for waiver. The project is Little Georgetown Estates, Common Area 1. The file is 2406-179. The developer is Harbaugh Properties LLC, and the engineer is Fox & Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, tax map 5, parcel 6.1, and is located at the end of Status Drive, which is off of Coonstown Road within the Little Georgetown Estates subdivision. The developer is proposing the creation of a 3.94 acre common area parcel and a 58 acre residue parcel. The common area parcel will encompass the existing stormwater management facility. The developer is requesting a waiver to Section 305.4.1 of the subdivision ordinance requiring DOH road frontage in order to proceed through the preliminary final plat process. The proposed preliminary final plat would create a common area to convey to the Little Georgetown Estates Homeowners Association. The developer would still be responsible for discussing the acceptance of the common area with the HOA. There are no concerns with the proposed plat, therefore staff recommends approval of the waiver to Section 305.4.1.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening. My name is Steve Sianovich. I'm with Fox & Associates representing the applicant.
Thank you, Steve. This is a public hearing, so if you have any comments about the Little Georgetown Estates, you're invited to step forward, state your name and your address, and any comments that you may have.
My name is Jarrett Beck. I live at 10 Eric Trail in Hedgesville, West Virginia, in the Little Georgetown Estates subdivision. And I'm coming back in front of you guys again to ask you for help. I stood here 5 years ago underwater due to the drainage and the irrigation issues that we have in this neighborhood. The bond at that point was $250,000. There was an agreement where the developer was going to come back and address the ditch issues, and nothing has been done. Since then, the bond has been reduced now to $25,000. All but one of you sitting up here were involved in that meeting on April 1st, 2019. Nothing has been done. So why would I allow them to have a waiver when they have not fixed or addressed any of the concerns we've had? I moved here in 2018. I moved into that house in June of 2018. October to April of 2018 to 2019. I pumped over 1 million gallons of water a day out of my basement because of this. And nothing has been done. I've been to the county several times. This is the 16th time I've been here in the county building addressing this. 2 county attorneys, 3 engineers have been on this project and all have left. And all of you were sitting here when I came here before. So I'm asking you, do not grant this waiver until the issues are addressed. Thank you.
Have anyone else that would like to make comments?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Nelson Marban. I live at 110 Barrick. We moved into the development 2 years ago. We discovered and heard all about what had happened previously. About a year ago, almost to the date, August 7th of 2023, we came to the offices here, the planning offices. We met with Sarah, who was and continues to be super helpful. We tried to reach Dirk Stansbury. We knew he was involved in all of what had happened previously. We learned he had since retired. We asked for reports, records, anything that could help us understand what was going on. We were told they weren't available. We were told Dirk wasn't good at taking notes or record keeping. We wanted to talk to more people at Stormwater Division. Zach Walburn was a name that we had. Also not with the department any longer. No reports available. So, pretty much ground zero at that point. Also, we went to, we met with the Director of Community Development, a gentleman by the name of Brian Ross. He recalled issues with the neighborhood and the redirecting of the stormwater to the back pond, which is exactly the parcel, the 4-acre parcel we're talking about. We learned that MS4 had become active in Berkeley at around 2011. We learned that EPA had come to address compliance or lack thereof in 2014, and even more so that in 2016, 2017, they seem to have set up shop, is what I understood, to ensure compliance with new EPA stormwater management standards. Okay? In addition to that, in the county meeting from April 1st, 2019, that Jared just referenced, I want to just call out 4 different highlights. This is public, I'm sure you guys have access to this. I have access, I have the whole printout here, it's 40 pages. On page 28, line 21, Mr. Stansbury confirms that there is a drainage issue in the neighborhood and that both he and Brian Blosser have visited the neighborhood. Also that Carrie Goodwin, an MS4 inspector, has visited several times. On page 39, line 18, Ken Barton, the Harbaugh's attorney, references Dirk Stanbury's comment saying there are problems out there. It goes on through line 24, where Ken Barton states that no one has told the Harbaughs what to do about it. On page 49, line 22, an unidentified commissioner clearly states that the county will address any issues with the stormwater. And then more comments continue on page 53, line 13. We expect major discussion and major action to relieve the problem. So, I wasn't here when all of this happened. We've only been here 2 years, but clearly there's an ongoing issue. So I wanted to come here and represent myself and our community and just ask, what can we do? What can we get from you to be able to get this resolved? I hope that's not a rhetorical question. Do any of you have an answer?
We will attempt to get those for you.
Okay, well, what does that mean for the waiver then? Do we have any right to be able to say to you, you know what, the concerns are endless? I mean, now that I live there, any summer afternoon, torrential rainstorm, I happen to live right in front of that particular drainage pond on Varick, not the big one, the one that's already ours, it's a pool. So if 5 years ago, there has been lots of recognition that we have a problem, like when we leave here today and there are a bunch of neighbors here, like what do we do? How do we get those answers? What is the process? Can you tell us that now?
We'll get Steve Stavanovich to answer some of those questions, hopefully, and maybe shed some light on those.
Okay. Do we have any power? Do we have any right? Do we have any process, any ability to say, look, these concerns are ongoing and they're big. Can we stop the waiver? Can we pause the waiver? I mean, we're not trying to just say, no, you can't have it, but we certainly don't want a pond that in the rain event that caused the flooding that Jared just described was also overflowing. It wasn't just the small pond on the front, it was this big one that is now trying to become common area number 1 for our development. I mean, I am not an engineer, I'm not a surveyor, that's not my gig. However, it's obvious by the amount of people that were impacted and by the remarks that I just brought to your attention that everybody knows that there is a situation. And so how do we fix that before we take on a pond that is much larger and still part of the problem as far as we know? Thank you.
Thank you.
I have copies of all this stuff if you want it.
Might want to give it to Sarah there. She'll put it in there.
Right. Are you Sarah from planning? Oh my God, you're great. Thank you so much.
Anyone else wish to speak before we turn it over to Mr. Stavanovich to try to answer some of the questions? I have one more. All right, thank you.
Unfortunately, I cannot give you the answers to these stormwater performance questions that these people spoke of. The reason we're here this evening is at present there's approximately a 62-acre remaining land. On that 62-acre remaining land is a stormwater management structure that was built years ago, and I think it was revisited over recent history. Unfortunately, Fox was not the engineer of record. I don't have the history on this project like I would on others. The purpose of this waiver, or the reason I'm here today, is that pond is on a remaining land and is not encumbered with an easement in any way. Therefore, this remaining land parcel theoretically could be sold to me, to you, without any action of this planning commission. The purpose of this waiver is to allow a preliminary final plat to be created to establish common area number 1, which would be described with meets and bounds, effectively protecting that area, or that 4 acres, 3.94 acres, to remain as a stormwater management structure. Again, I wish I could speak to plans that were done years ago, or plans that are being developed currently to help address the problems of some of these people. But quite honestly, I'm here tonight in like a surveying preliminary final plat action, and not any type of design action. And I throw this out for what it's worth, and I mentioned it earlier. With that being a remaining land, could be sold, and without an easement encumbering that. And really by right, every other time I'm before this commission, usually we're doing a subdivision or we're doing a commercial development, and we have a stormwater management area that is protected in perpetuity, whether it be through an easement or through a parcel being created, that if that land were to default and go up for tax sale with no easement encumbering that stormwater structure, and I happen to buy it, I could do whatever I want with it because there's no protections on it. So again, the reason we're here today, step 1 is to get a waiver, as Laura explained. Step 2 would be to create a preliminary final plat protecting that existing stormwater feature from somebody buying this property and there's no easement. It's really not necessary here, or it's not really a stormwater management feature as I look at it. Again, had it been protected with an easement, different story. It's not protected. That subdivision goes back quite a while ago, so I certainly can't speak to what should have been done or could have been done to encumber in some way this portion of this remaining land where the stormwater management was constructed. I hope that answers your questions. If not, I'd be happy
Thanks,
to
Steve.
expand.
Thanks, Steve. Do you have anyone else from the public? If not, we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move.
Yep, one more.
Oh, sorry.
Mike Vavracek, 260 Status Drive, Hedgesville. What they're asking for is for you to give them a waiver to accept this as a stormwater easement. Well, clearly what we've just stated is that it has not been built to the proper codes to be a stormwater easement. So why would you give them a waiver? Until they bring it up to the codes that are required, they shouldn't get anything else other than what they've already done, which is nothing.
I can answer
Let's
that.
take a motion for closed public hearing.
I'll make the motion we close public hearing.
Second.
First by Mr. Gann, second by Mr. Goff to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Likewise for no. Motion carries. Do you want to try to answer that?
I try to emphasize there is not an easement right now. That property could be sold to any of us in this room, and nobody would have to recognize an easement because there isn't one. By granting this waiver, at least it gives some protection to that 4 acres. I'm not saying the pond's perfect. I'm not saying the pond doesn't need some work. That wasn't a part of our scope. Our scope was to encumber a portion of this property to define an easement, or excuse me, a common area where the sole purpose of that common area is for stormwater. So again, I go back to the protections of this 4 acres.
If we don't protect it, then they won't have a pond to control their stormwater if it gets sold. I mean, I understand what the public's saying about the issues, but we have to protect that area for stormwater management. You know.
You have anything you want to add to it?
This was started in 2004. We're not much to the stormwater management regulations, let alone subdivision regulations back in that time.
Closer to the mic.
So there's kind of two things going on. Mr. Gant is right. The fear is, and this has happened. Y'all know this has happened. The property goes to tax sale on the stormwater management lots because the taxes aren't paid by anyone, whether it has been transferred or not been transferred to the HOAs, and then all of a sudden the stormwater pond's gone. So we do have to protect the area for that. Whether it's groundwater or runoff, I don't know. This is a new one to me that I've never dug in since I've been here the past 3 years. So I would really have to dig into this. And it's going to go back to the original engineer of record and to the developer. And I mean, that's what we would have to look at. This is not something that's going to get done overnight. I mean, I would say, and importance-wise, we need to protect the pond as it is and the area as it is, because if we do have to modify the stormwater, there's got to be a place to put it. If somebody goes off and sells a residue and this goes with it, we're going to have to look at somebody's lot.
I'm going to tear their house down.
I mean, bottom line. So, I mean, like I said, there's a couple of things in play. I mean, the first thing is I would certainly protect this area, because if I had to do something, I would need that area to store the water before I could release it. Like I said, the regulations back then, how this ever got this far without it ever being its own lot, I can't even fathom that. But that's neither here nor there now. Now, I mean, it just needs to be fixed. But as far as the rest of the drainage, we've heard there are issues out there, but I have nothing, from turnover on that one.
I'm a little bit familiar with it, just because I do excavating work. There's some groundwater issues down there, high groundwater, high water table. As far as the drainage issues going to the ponds or anything, I haven't looked at any of that, but I do know there's high water table issues.
High water table and groundwater, we can't do
That's
anything
what I'm
about.
saying,
That's why
yeah.
we put the warnings on the plats now, that these lots have a potential high groundwater and basements aren't recommended without a geotechnical engineer getting involved.
Yeah.
So that part of it, I can tell you that if it's groundwater, there's not much we can do. I mean, I hate to say it, but there's nothing we could really do other than to recommend you get backup pumps if that's the case. As far as surface water, that's a whole other issue.
Right, correct.
And like I said, I have to go back in the files tomorrow and start digging and looking and see what stormwater was done, how it was done before I can even say yes, no, maybe so. Bottom line.
Just to elaborate too, this is a waiver for process, not for, so they're just asking to subdivide this, a bit more of a efficient manner, going to the sketch plat, which they legally could do without having a waiver.
Commission members, any other questions? The public hearing's already closed. We won't accept any more comments from the public.
I think some people may be concerned that when they saw the word waiver, that it would mean they wouldn't be required to address other things besides just wanting to make it its own parcel away from the larger parcel. And that's not what's happening.
On the subdivision plot maps filed with your county. In phase one, it's already listed there. So what they're trying to ask for is a waiver so they can get out of the subdivision.
Not exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's, yeah.
no more outspurts from there. We'll ask everybody to leave.
It's not
Public hearing was
exactly.
closed. County Commissioner.
Yes, Todd.
Pleases the council. My suggestion would be table this and give me till the next planning session. Go dig into this and that's the best I can do for it. That would be my take on it. Oh, but still, at the end of the day, I can't let that parcel go. It goes with the residue where
I know where to address it.
Yeah.
We can't address
there
it.
is no stormwater anymore.
They would lose their recourse.
What's that, ma'am?
Would they lose, the recourse on being able to have it fixed?
Yeah, because there would be without that
Yeah.
parcel, where else am I gonna find 3 acres that I can store water in? Please, if there really is that, good surface water line. I gotta put it someplace to store it for 72 hours before I can release it.
So we need to make this parcel.
Absolutely.
In a way,
Yeah.
the parcel needs to be
Yeah,
created.
it actually
Now, I
protects,
don't know
it will
what
actually
further-
protect the community by making it the
Yes.
parcel. Is that enough property to accommodate?
If I sat here and told you yes or no, I'd have to go back and look. It's better to have some than none at the end of the day.
Based on Doug's answer, I move to table the issue until the next planning commission meeting. Until we can study it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to table and a second motion by Mr. Goff, a second by Ms. Norton to table until the next planning commission meeting, which will be August the 19th?
Yeah, 19.
19th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is Five Star Auto Spa.
Yes, this public hearing is a request for waiver. The project is Five Star Auto Spa, file 2407-185. The developer is 5 Hanal LLC, and the engineer is JJ Companies. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 5G, parcels 25 through 31. The site's located at 1111 Winchester Avenue at the intersection of Apple Harvest Drive and Winchester Avenue. The project proposes a 6,855 square foot car wash and a 10,290 square foot vacuum enclosure on 1.46 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to section 802.1.b.I.a of the subdivision ordinance requiring a 25-foot buffer between a commercial use and a residential use. This waiver was previously approved on June 5th, 2023. Since then, the developer has submitted a new sketch plan, which expands the site to include a new parcel. This waiver request would affect a new adjacent parcel owner, so staff requested a new waiver application. The developer is requesting the waiver to the required 25-foot buffer area to be reduced to 8 feet and 16 feet in some areas while using the existing 6-foot privacy fence for screening in conjunction with 2 rows of trees alternating spacing to provide more screening and noise reduction. Since the developer intends on providing the required screening, staff recommends approval of the waiver to section 802.1.b.I.a requiring the 25-foot buffer between commercial and residential use.
You have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening. Chris Waddell, JHA Companies.
Chris, this is a public hearing. If you have anything you would like to make, any comments you'd like to make on this project, we invite you to step forward, state your name and your address, and share any comments that you have.
David Houck, 1038 Winchester Avenue, Martinsburg. I've got a house within a half a block from there. And I don't know whether this is the appropriate time or not. This is kind of new to me. But the traffic is so bad there in that area, I don't even know why they're allowing a car wash to go in there. I can't even get out of my driveway 8 out of 10 times and turn left. I have to go completely around the block and hopefully get up the road there. I said, you know, they had trouble when the bank was there. And now they're going to put something else in there, and it's just causing more problems. I don't know whether this is the appropriate time to bring that up, but I hope somebody has really looked at this pretty hard.
We appreciate your comments, and I guess you can see that the Department of Highways is doing a little bit of work through Apple Harvest Drive. Not much. They're going to, add some additional turn lanes in there. Should improve it some. I will agree with you. When it was the bank, it was much harder than it would be with a car wash. But we appreciate your comments.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? And then we got one in the back. Okay.
My name is Sean Valentine. I live at 28 Empress Circle in Wood. I've been hit twice at that intersection because of what I perceive to be road rage from people when I try to stop at the light and not block the box. I've been rear-ended twice there because of that. I can't take exit 12 southbound because I'm terrified I'm going to get rear-ended on 81. Northbound, if you try to take exit 12 to get anywhere in there, you can't, you're dealing with the same thing. I mean, I'm sure that you people know this, right? I mean, we need another car wash. There's a car wash a quarter mile down the street, Peterson's. You got 2 on Foxcroft Avenue, which you can't get to unless you go to exit 13 if you're me. We need another car wash like a hole in the head. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to put that, but I've been fighting that intersection for 15 years that I've worked in Martinsburg trying to get, and then you go the back way. Well, the back way is now not the back way anymore because everybody knows about it. You know, so that intersection is like got to be one of the worst intersections in West Virginia. Please, I beg of you, on behalf of somebody that's been hit twice there's been a lot of accidents there. Please think about what you're doing. Where is that added traffic gonna go? That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Again, I just want to state for the record, we have no control over highways or any of that kind of information. We just deal with the development of those areas. And I think there was somebody in the back that wanted to speak. Yep, she stood up.
My name's Darcia Collis. I've never done this before, so I don't have any numbers or anything. I live at that intersection. There's been 2 hit and runs in the last week. I've talked to the governor's office. It has been sent to the superintendent of highways, and the statement was they don't know how that got approved because that is the busiest intersection in West Virginia. Traffic is backed up. You got 9 lanes of traffic. When 81 shut down, put 200 tractor trailers in that mix. And personally, I think it's a poor business decision to put a car wash there. But there should be nothing built on any of those corners. That intersection is so dangerous. 2 hit and runs in the last week. I sit in my backyard and listen to the booms. I listen to the tires screeching. And somebody's going to get hurt road rage before it's over with. And they shouldn't build anything on those corners of that intersection. So, I mean, I don't have any documentation, never did this before, but that needs to be looked at. And how DOH ever approved the traffic flow there, I don't understand at all. I'm a state employee for 37 years, and how they could approve that it's safe to have cars entering in and out of that intersection is ridiculous. If any of you guys have ever gone through that intersection.
Hey, pretty much.
Terrible, isn't it? And you got people running lights, blocking up intersections, and somebody's going to get hurt. I wait for the crazy person with the gun to get out and shoot somebody.
Ooh.
But it's just not a good idea to put anything on these corners. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Any other comments from the public?
If there are no other comments, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Goff and a second by Mr. Gant to close the public hearing. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Likewise for no, motion carries. Chris, you have some comments for the folks out there about the traffic?
Yes, this is there was an existing interest here at the BB&T Bank, which the Department of Highways has said, hey, we can't stop you from using. What we're proposing now is to move that intersection further from Route 11 and 45 intersection to give more staging. We're going to add additional space to the turn lane. The right turn lane that's turning right and going over toward Lowe's and Target is going to have a longer turn lane. We've added more staging on our property to keep traffic from backing up on Route 11. So we've addressed most of the traffic issues out there that we can control. We can't control issues that the state has and how many lanes they have out there. We can't do anything with that. But we're taking an existing property that has an existing business and just turning it back into one.
Planning Commission members, do you have any questions for Chris? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion, we accept staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of waiver section 802.1.B.I.A. requiring 25-foot buffer between commercial and residential use.
Motion by Mr. Gant. Going to get a second on that motion.
Second.
Second by Ms. Norton. You have a first and a second, and all those in favor, aye. Aye. Likewise for no, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. The next item on the public hearing is Applewood Farm.
Yes, this public hearing is a request for waiver. The project is Applewood Farm, file 2407-196. The developer is Thomas Companies LLC and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Arden District, Tax Map 5, Parcel 1, and Tax Map 9, Parcel 23. This site's located on the south side of Apple Harvest Drive, approximately 1 mile east of its intersection with Interstate 81, just past Blue Ridge Community and Technical College. The developer is proposing 231 single-family detached lots, 110 villa lots, 264 single-family attached townhouses, and 264 multifamily apartment units with 4 commercial outsale lots on 188.53 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to Section 801, Table 8-1A, Number 7 for off-street parking, reducing the number of parking spaces from 2.5 spaces per unit plus 1 space per employee plus 10% additional spaces for guests to 2.1 spaces per unit plus 1 space per employee plus 10% for additional guests. The developer's request is consistent with ITE's parking standards and similar to past waiver requests. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the waiver to Section 801, Table 8-1A, Item Number 7. And just to expand, this is only for the apartments, not for any of the other types of lots.
Anyone to represent the project?
Steve Sianovich with Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Thank you, Steve. This is a public hearing, so if you have any comments you would like to make about Applewood Farm, we invite you to step forward, state your name and your address, and share with us any comments you have.
There are no comments. I move to close public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Goff and a second by Mr. Gant to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no, the motion carries. Planning Commission members, you have any questions for Steve on Applewood Farm?
There are no questions. I'll make the motion to accept staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the waiver to Section 801, Table 8-A1, Item Number 7.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gann and a second by Mr. Goff to accept the staff recommendations for the waiver of Section 801, Table 8-1A. All those in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the reserve at Tuscarora.
This public hearing is a request for major plan change approval. The project is the Reserve at Tuscarora, file 2405-138. The developer is Panhandle Homes and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Arden District, Tax Map 2, Parcel 7, and is located along the north side of Tuscarora Pike, approximately half a mile west of Interstate 81. The applicant's proposing a 13,000 square foot professional legal office on 5.8 acres and a 10.85 acre single family residential lot, both to be served by public water and sewer. At the April 24th, 2024 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, the applicant was granted a special exception in accordance with Section 5032 of the Tuscarora Community Zoning Ordinance to construct a legal or professional legal office. On July 2nd, 2024, County Engineer Doug Smith deemed the above-mentioned project compliant with the subdivision ordinance. The major plan change meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement of the preliminary plan to the final plat stage.
You have anyone to represent the project?
I need to recuse from this, but I'm going to stay in the room for keep the quorum.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Steve Sianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
This is a public hearing, so if you have any comments you'd like to make on the reserve at Tuscarora, we invite you to step forward, state your name, any comments you have, name and address, any comments you have. Mr. Gann is going to stay in the room for quorum, but he's not going to be in part of the conversation.
Hi, Corey Rodriguez, 498 Woolen Mill Road, Martinsburg. So I want to make clear here, I'm not speaking out against the project. I'm once again throwing our DOT under the bus because they suck. So I'm on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and at our meeting on the 24th, we found out that the developer had proposed to the DOT putting a turn lane in for this development and the next public hearing you're going to have. But our worthless DOT refused it, even though the developer is paying for it to put it in, they know it'll make our roads safer. The DOT is telling our developers that they can't put in safety features on the roads because they don't want to maintain it. So what the hell do we have a DOT for? Why do we pay taxes? They suck. They fail us. And it's constant. And the biggest thing is the DOT needs moved from Hampshire County to Berkeley County so they can deal with the growth. They don't know what's going on here. And they say, oh, you don't need a turn lane. We did our calculations. And it says with this distance from a turn, you're good. Yeah, but your calculations are bullcrap because your calculations are based on speed limits. And nobody on Tuscarora Pike drives anywhere close to the speed limit. So what I'm asking for this project, the next project, and every project in Berkeley County going forward, that a developer proposes safety lanes or any traffic-related safety upgrades that the DOT throws back and says no, I want you to say, screw you guys, it's going back to you, and you're going to prove it, or we're not going to keep building like this. It's stupid. And why do people have to get hurt or die? Everything's reactive with the DOT. They do not value the lives of anybody in Berkeley County, driving through it, or in the state of West Virginia. Our DOT is worthless, and everybody should call and tell them that. Because until they hear it from everybody, they're not going to deal with it. Everybody who talked at a public hearing tonight, anything DOT, you can tell the planning commission, you can tell the commissioners, they can only do so much. You have to go to the DOT and let them know that they are failing us every day. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak on behalf? Just to answer,
My name is Dan Shergy. I live at 15 Showers Lane. And I just got one simple question. What has already been approved for this project? The office building for Bowles and Rice and lot 46. And now the roadside sign that was erected says major change, all right? What is different about what is being presented tonight versus what was approved back then?
Yep, we'll get Mr. Stavage
Okay,
to
I
address that.
appreciate it.
Thank you. But before you do that, I just want everyone here to know that, the Planning Commission's office reaches out to the DOT quite often and address some of the concerns that we have with the highways in this area. We do talk to those folks. We get the same stuff, that they have checked it out and they don't require a turn lane, they don't require a stop sign, they don't require a stop signal. Not a lot the county can do about that. We have no control over the roads. We have to do what the state highway department says that they will maintain and what they will do for the county. The gentleman is right. The more we speak out, the more they hear us, and maybe eventually we'll get some answers here in Berkeley County. Not just Berkeley County, Jefferson County, Morgan County's heading that way as well. So, thanks. Steve?
I'd like to speak to the comment or question that Mr. Shergy posted. The term major plan change or administrative plan change, two different things. That was nomenclature or application types that were documented within the 2009 subdivision regulations. In the case of a major plan change, if we increase the number of lots, if we increase the impervious surface, that qualifies as a major plan change. In this particular instance, under the reserve at Tuscarora originally, we had 45 single-family lots. When you approved the reserve at Tuscarora originally, we had roughly a 16.6 acre residue, remaining land. What was presented to the Board of Zoning Appeals was to create residential lot 46, which is 10.8 acres or so in size. and create commercial lot 47 for the law offices of Bowles Rice. That's on a 5.8 acre parcel. Again, going back to the definition of major plan change, that we increased the number of lots because we grew by 2, and just by nature of building a commercial building, we're increasing the impervious surface that was originally approved by the Planning Commission under the preserve at Tuscarora when it was 45 single-family lots. So very simply, the word major is just a procedural action that the Planning Commission had established when they approved the 2009 subdivision regulations. It is in terms, we decided, we didn't decide to call it major or minor or anything. That's the application that's followed. And really, everything that was discussed when the project was first heard by the Board of Zoning Appeals, and then it was tabled that evening, and I believe we reconvened 3 weeks later, everything that was discussed at that meeting is represented on the plans that you have before you this evening. Every single item that was discussed during the Board of Zoning Appeals, we labored to address certain things. There was an issue with the facade, 31 feet in height. Can you lower it? The developer lower it to 28 feet. Can you put a privacy fence along the rear of, I guess it's the rear property line of the lots that front Showers Lane, where their backyards would be contiguous to the lands that are being developed as Lot 46 and Lot 47. The developer agreed to do that. There's extensive landscaping proposed, even insofar as the landscape plan on Lot 47, which is a commercial use, is not only buffering that proposed commercial use from the existing lots on Showers Lane, it's also buffering the lots within the reserve at Tuscarora that aren't even platted yet. So again, this commercial Lot 47 will be buffered from existing lots and proposed lots that have yet to be recorded. And since they're not recorded, there's no development going on them right now in terms of house construction. I hope that explains the question that was posed.
Answer the question for you? So I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close public hearing.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Goff and a second by Mr. Whitaker to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Likewise for no. The public hearing is closed. Steve, thanks again for your...
Certainly.
Planning Commission members, do you have any questions for Steve? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move advancement of the preliminary plan to the final plat stage.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Norton and a second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendations to advancement of the preliminary plan to the final plat stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no. The motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item on the list is the Estates of Tuscarora.
This public hearing is a request for final plat approval. The project is Estates of Tuscarora Phase 2, lots 8 through 24 and 26, file 2310-332. The developer is Thatcher Holdings LLC and the surveyor is Roberts Land Surveying. It's located in the Hedgesville District, tax map 40, parcels 2 and 4, and is located on the right side of Thatcher Road, approximately 500 feet north of its intersection with Tuscarora Pike. The final plat proposes the development of 18 single-family lots on approximately 39.5 acres to be served by private well and septic. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon receipt of a surety in the amount of $548,272.51. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety and completed developer's agreement.
You have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening. Mike Roberts, represent the project.
Mike, this is a public hearing, so if you have any comments you'd like to make on the Estates of Tuscarora, we invite you to step forward, state your name and your address, and share your comments.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gant and a second by Mr. Goff to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Likewise for no, the public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have any questions for Mike on the estates of Tuscarora?
There are none. I'll make the motion to accept staff recommendation. Approve the final plat contingent upon receipt and surety in the amount of $548,272.51. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety and completed developers agreement.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gant and a second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendations for final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $548,272.51 and said plat to be released upon surety and receipt of surety and the completed developer's agreement. All those in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no, the motion carries. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is Middle Creek Vistas.
This public hearing is also a request for final plat approval. The project is Middle Creek Vistas Phase 1, Section 3, lots 10 through 13 and 33 through 36. The file is 2206-154. The developer is Warfield Homes, Inc., and the engineer is Morris & Ritchie Associates, Inc. It's located in the Mill Creek District, Tax Map 21A, Parcel 106, and is located approximately 2,500 feet south of the intersection of Sailor's Way and Strobridge Road, with Middle Creek running through the middle of the site. The developer is proposing 8 single-family lots on approximately 1.63 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $56,620.80. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety.
Do we have anyone to represent the project Warfield Homes? Or Middle Creek Vistas, I'm sorry.
Both. Good evening. My name is Madeline Delaney, and I'm representing Warfield Homes.
This is a public hearing, so if you have any comments you would like to make on Middle Creek Vistas, we invite you to step forward, state your name and your address, and share with us any comments you have.
Move public hearing be closed.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Goff and a second by Mr. Gant to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Likewise for no. Planning Commission members, do you have any questions? It was Madeline, right? Any questions for Madeline on Middle Creek Vistas?
There are no questions. I'll make the motion. We accept staff recommendation, final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in amount of $56,620.80. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gant and a second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendations for final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $56,620.80. Said plat to be released upon receipt of surety. All those in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no, the motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. The final public hearing this evening is on the Southside Towns.
Yes, this public hearing is a request for sketch plan advancement. The project is Southside Towns, file 2304-148. The developer is Mike Fry and the engineer is Morris & Ritchie Associates. It's located in the Arden District, Tax Map 10F, Parcel 171, and is located on the east side of Winchester Avenue, approximately 150 feet north from its intersection with Sophia Lane. The developer is proposing 13 townhouse lots on 1.3 acres to be served by public water and sewer. On July 15th, 2024, County Engineer Doug Smith deemed the above-mentioned project compliant with the subdivision ordinance. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Do you have anyone to represent the project?
Move public hearing be closed.
What, we don't.
Oh, sorry.
Todd Heck with Morris Ritchie and Associates.
And it was Todd.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, this is a public hearing.
Sorry.
Anyone that has comments that would like to make on this project, we invite you to step forward, state your name and your address, and we'll listen to your comments.
If there is no one, I move to close public hearing.
Motion. I have a motion, Mr. McGough, and a second by Mr. Whitaker to close the public hearing. Planning Commission members, do you have any questions for Todd on Southside Towns?
There are no questions. I'll make the motion. We accept staff recommendation. Sketch plan meets requirements of subdivision ordinance 2009. Staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to preliminary plan stage.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gant and a second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendations for advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Likewise for no. The motion carries. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, that wraps up the public hearings for the evening. We'll move on to preliminary plan approval, BFS Warm Springs.
Yes, this request for preliminary plan approval is BFS Warm Springs, file 2312-385. The developer is BFS Companies and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Apecan District, tax map 6, parcel 8, and is located at the intersection of Mid-Atlantic Parkway and Warm Springs Avenue and Edwin Miller Boulevard. The project proposes a 6,832 square foot convenience store and fast food restaurant on approximately 2 acres to be served by public water and sewer. At the June 6, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted a waiver to Section 503B of the subdivision ordinance requiring a 50-foot front setback. On July 10th, 2024, County Engineer Doug Smith deemed the above-mentioned project compliant with the subdivision ordinance. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the preliminary plan.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Steve Sianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Thanks, Steve. Planning Commission members, do you have any questions for Steve on BFS Warm Springs?
There are no questions. I'll make the motion. We accept staff recommendation. Preliminary plan meets requirements of subdivision ordinance. Therefore, make the motion to approve preliminary plan.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gant and a second by Mr. Gant to accept staff recommendations for approval of the preliminary plan. All those in favor, aye.
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 Likewise for no. The motion carries. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
The next item is Sheets 143 Inwood.
Yes, this is a request for preliminary plan approval. The project is Sheets 143 Inwood, file 2405-123. The developer is Sheets Inc. and the engineer is Stifler McGraw and Associates. It's located in the Mill Creek District, tax map 6K, parcel 3, and is located at the intersection of Winchester Avenue and Middleway Pike. The developer is proposing the demolition of the existing Sheets store and redevelopment of a new 6,132 square foot sheet store with 5 gas pumps. The site is approximately 1.1 acres and will be served by public water and sewer. At the March 4th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted waivers to the following subdivision ordinance requirements. 1, Section 503B, requiring a 75-foot front setback, a 15-foot side setback, and 25-foot rear setback. 2, Section 504E, which requires a maximum impervious coverage of 80% for commercial sites served by public water and sewer. And 3, Section 801.1.6.c, requiring a minimum 10-foot vegetative planting strip between any parking areas and street right-of-way. On July 18, 2024, County Engineer Doug Smith deemed the above-mentioned project compliant with the subdivision ordinance. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the preliminary plan.
Do we have anyone to represent Sheets 143 in Inwood?
Hi, Eric Banks with Stifler McGraw and Associates.
What was your first name again?
Eric.
Ed?
Eric.
Eric?
Yes.
Okay, Eric.
Hi.
Planning Commission members, do you have any questions for Eric on Sheets 143 Inwood? John will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. We accept staff recommendation. Preliminary plan meets requirements of subdivision ordinance 2009. Staff recommends approval of preliminary plan.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Goff and a second by Mr. Gann, and a second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendations of approval of the preliminary plan. All those in favor? Aye. Likewise for no, then the motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next on the list is Providence 79.
This is a request for preliminary plan approval. The project is Providence 79 West Virginia Laundry, file 2404-091. The developer is Providence 79 West Virginia Laundry LLC and the engineer is Triad Engineering. It's located in the Arden District, Tax Map 10, Parcel 8.3, and is located off Consumer Drive, approximately 500 feet north of Paynes Ford Road and Winchester Avenue intersection. The developer is proposing a 151,200 square foot commercial laundry facility on 16.73 acres to be served by public water and sewer. On July 19th, 2024, County Engineer Doug Smith deemed the above-mentioned project compliant with the subdivision ordinance. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval contingent on the preliminary final plat recordation information and its associated easements being placed on the preliminary plan set.
Do you have anyone to represent the project?
Marcus Spino, Civil Environmental Consultants.
Mark or Marcus?
Marcus.
Marcus, thank you. Planning Commission members, does anyone have any questions for Marcus on Providence 79, West Virginia laundry? I think the last time we asked this is a commercial laundry facility, right?
There are no questions. I'll make the motion. We accept staff recommendation. Preliminary plan meets requirements of subdivision ordinance 2009. Staff recommends approval contingent upon preliminary final plat, recordation, information, and associated easements being placed on the preliminary plan set.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gant and a second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendations for approval of the preliminary final plat contingent on recordation of the information and its associated easements being placed on a preliminary plan set. All those in favor? Aye. Likewise for no. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all.
The next preliminary plan approval is for Foxtail Mill.
Yes, this is a request for preliminary plan approval. Project's Foxtail Mills, file 2403-072. The developer is Thomas Companies LLC and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, Tax Map 17, parcels 14.5 and 14.6. This site's located on the north side of Beddington Road, approximately 300 feet east of its intersection with Miss Stacy Drive. The developer is proposing 99 townhome lots on 14.37 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On July 18th, 2024, County Engineer Doug Smith deemed the above-mentioned project compliant with the subdivision ordinance. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement of the preliminary plan to the final plat stage.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Steve Sianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
All right, thanks, Steve. Planning Commission members, do you have any questions for Steve on Foxtail Mills?
There are none. I'll make the motion. We accept staff recommendation. Preliminary plan meets the requirements of subdivision ordinance 2009. Staff recommends advancement of the preliminary plan to the final plan stage.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gant and a second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendations for advancement of the preliminary plan to the final plat stage. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Likewise for no. The motion carries. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Now we move on to preliminary final plat approvals. The first up is Everett, Wiltshire.
Yes, this is a request for preliminary final plat approval. The project is Everett, Wiltshire, file 2403-062. The developer is Everett, Wiltshire, and the surveyor is DL Consulting. It's located in the Jaredstown District, Tax Map 35, Parcel 11.2, and is located on the southeast side of Dominion Road, approximately half a mile south of Jaredstown Road. The developer is proposing the creation of a 2-acre residential lot with a 14.3 acre residue to be served by well and septic. On July 11th, 2024, County Engineer Doug Smith deemed the above-mentioned project compliant with the subdivision ordinance. The project is compliant with the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the preliminary final plat.
Anyone to represent the project?
Jeff Wiltshire, Forever Wiltshire.
Right. Okay, Planning Commission members, do you have any questions for Jeff on this project? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
There are no questions. I'll make a motion. We accept staff recommendation. Project meets is in compliance with subdivision ordinance 2009. Staff recommends approval from preliminary final plat.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gant and a second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendations for approval of the preliminary final plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep, you're all set to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is Providence 79 West Virginia Laundry. We just went through this.
Yeah, this is to create the lot. Yeah. This is a request for preliminary final plat approval. Project is Providence 79 West Virginia Laundry, file 2404-091. The developer is Providence 79 West Virginia Laundry LLC, and the engineer is CEC. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 10, parcel 8.3, and is located off Consumer Drive, approximately 500 feet north of Painesford Road and Winchester Avenue. The developer is proposing a 151,200 square foot commercial laundry facility on 16.73 acres to be served by public water and sewer. On July 17th, 2024, County Engineer Doug Smith deemed the above-mentioned project compliant with the subdivision ordinance. The project is compliant with the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the preliminary final plat.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Ty Morgan, Arco Murray on behalf of the developer.
And it's Todd?
Ty.
Todd, okay, thanks. Planning Commission members, do you have any questions on the project? No, we'll take a motion.
Make the motion, we accept staff recommendation. Project is compliant with the subdivision ordinance 2009. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary final plat.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Gant, and a second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendations for approval of the preliminary final plat. All those in favor? Aye. Likewise for no. Motion carries. Thank you. The final item on the agenda is Spring Mills Town Center North.
Got to recuse from this for conflict of interest. I'll stay in the room for a quorum.
This is a request for preliminary final plat approval. The project is Spring Mills Town Center North, Lot 5, file 2407-191. The developer is Rental Properties, Inc., and the engineer is Fox & Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, tax map 14, parcel 5.17. This site's located on Hammons Mill Road, directly east of Interstate 81 northbound ramp. The developer is proposing the creation of a 2.39 acre commercial parcel and a 6.13 acre residue to be served by public water and sewer. On July 18, 2024, County Engineer Doug Smith deemed the above-mentioned project compliant with the subdivision ordinance. The project is compliant with the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the preliminary final plat.
Do you have anyone to represent the project?
Yes, Steve Sianovich, Fox & Associates, representing the applicant.
Thanks, Steve. Commissioner Gant stepped away from this one, so we'll have to get someone else to do a motion for us on this project.
I move approval of the preliminary final plat.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Norton, a second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendations for approval of the preliminary final plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yep, you too. Okay, the last item, well, the next to last item, staff, council, discussion, or reaction motion. Anything from anybody? No.
Move to adjourn.
13. Got a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I haven't ate all day either.
Oh, my.